They told you it was slaves. They told you it was pharaohs with copper tools and endless patience. Look at the Great Pyramid. 2.3 million stone blocks, some weighing over 80 tons, lifted hundreds of feet in the air. Aligned to true north with a precision modern technology struggles to match. Does that sound like the work of a Bronze Age civilization? You have been lied to. For thousands of years, the true origin of these impossible structures has been deliberately concealed. The church doesn't want you to know this. Historians refuse to talk about it because the builders of the pyramids were not Egyptian. They were not even human as we know it. What if I told you that the evidence for their existence is written in the very first verses of the Bible? A clue to a race that lived, built, and was destroyed before Adam ever walked the earth. Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about the origins of humanity. This is the story they tried to erase, so you're here. That means the official story isn't enough for you. The tale of ropes, ramps, and endless human labor. It sounds hollow, doesn't it? You look at those megalithic structures, and you know deep in your gut that a piece of the puzzle is missing. A huge piece. And here's the detail that almost no one notices. This isn't just an archaeological debate. This strikes at the very core of who you are. Your entire identity is built on two pillars. The scientific story that we are the peak of evolution, and the religious story that our history began with Adam in the garden. What if both are wrong? Do you realize what this means? If a civilization existed before Adam, a civilization with technology that rivals or even surpasses our own, then we are not the first. We are not the most advanced. We are simply the chapter that came after a great forgotten cataclysm. This changes everything you were taught about your own origin. There are only three possible explanations for the pyramids. Think of them as three doors. The first door is the safe one, the one they show everyone. This is the touch. Conservative theory. Egyptian pharaohs of the 4th dynasty built them as tombs using a massive human workforce and simple tools over many decades. It's the story you read in textbooks. The second door is for those who dare to question the alternative theory. A lost but still human civilization like Atlantis built them. They possessed forgotten knowledge of acoustics or sonic levitation, a technology we can no longer comprehend. The Egyptians simply found and inherited these structures. But there is a third door, the door they have tried to seal shut. Behind it lies the radical theory, the one that connects the dots between ancient texts and impossible architecture. This theory states the pyramids were not built by humans at all. They are the artifacts of a pre-Adamic race of giants, the mighty ones of old mentioned in Genesis, and their purpose was far more terrifying than a simple tomb. So the question is not just who built the pyramids. The real question is, who were we before we were us? And why was their existence so dangerous that it had to be erased from time itself? Opening your Bible, not to a complex prophecy in Daniel or a vision in Revelation. Go to the very first page, the very first verses, because the cover-up didn't start in a secret meeting room thousands of years later. It started right there on page 1, hidden in plain sight. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Read that again. It's a statement of completion, perfect, finished, a masterpiece. Now read the very next sentence, verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Pause the video right now and think with me. Does that make any sense? Why would a perfect creator make a perfect world, and then in the very next breath, it is described as a chaotic, dark, watery ruin? Theologians have struggled with this for centuries. They tell you it just means God was starting with raw materials. But what if they're wrong? And here's the detail that almost no one notices. The original Hebrew words used here are Tohu vavohu. This doesn't just mean empty or unformed. In every other place it's used in the Bible, like in Jeremiah and Isaiah, it describes the aftermath of a cataclysmic judgment, a world destroyed. Do you realize what this means? Between verse 1 and verse 2, there's a gap a gap of untold ages where something catastrophic happened. Verse 1 describes a perfect original creation. Verse 2 describes its annihilated remains, which God then begins to reform into the world of Adam and Eve. This isn't just a theory. The Bible itself gives us a witness to that first perfect world. Turn to the book of Job 38. God is challenging Job and he asks him, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy?" Listen to those words. The laying of Earth's foundations was a cosmic celebration. Angels were singing. Beings were shouting for joy. This is the world of Genesis 1-1. It is not the dark, ruined, watery abyss of Genesis 1-2. So the question becomes terrifyingly clear. What happened in that gap? What power existed on that first Earth that brought about a judgment so complete it left the planet as Tohu Bohu, a wasteland? The evidence wasn't completely erased. Remnants survived the ruin. Clues were left behind for those with eyes to see. Go back to Genesis 6-4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that. Let me show you something disturbing. The word translated as giants is in Hebrew Nephilim. It comes from the root nel, which means to fall. They are not just big men. They are the fallen ones. And look at the verse again, but now slowly. There were Nephilim in the earth in those days, and also after that. The verse explicitly states they were present on earth before the events it's about to describe. They were a pre-existing race. The verse continues calling them the Gibber, the mighty men which were of old men of renown, the mighty ones, the heroes, the master builders. It's no coincidence that ancient cultures all over the world, from the Greeks to the Sumerians, tell stories of an age of titans, of powerful godlike beings who walked the earth and built impossible things. The Bible isn't telling you a fairy tale. It's giving you a fragmented police report of a crime scene, a destroyed first world, a race of fallen powerful beings, and a human history that was built on top of the ruins of their forgotten empire. So let's examine the first door, the one they want you to walk through. This is Theory 1, the orthodox view. It's the story you were taught in school, the one repeated in every documentary. It's clean, simple, and keeps everything neatly in its place. The theory goes like this. Around 2500 BC, the great pharaohs of Egypt's 4th dynasty, men like Khufu, decided to build eternal monuments to themselves. They marshaled a massive workforce of skilled Egyptian laborers, not slaves, they now insist. And over the course of 2 decades, using nothing more than copper chisels, wooden sleds, and immense ramps of sand and brick, they constructed the pyramids. It's presented as the ultimate testament to human willpower and ingenuity. And for a while, you probably believed it. Why wouldn't you? It's the accepted truth. But here is the detail that almost nobody notices. The math simply doesn't work. Think about it. To build the Great Pyramid in 20 years, workers would have had to quarry perfectly cut transport and set in place. One multi-ton stone block. Every 2.5 minutes, every minute of every hour 24 hours a day for 20 straight years. Does that sound humanly possible? And what about the precision? Modern engineers with laser-guided equipment would be challenged to align a structure to true north with the accuracy of the Great Pyramid. How did a Bronze Age culture do it with sightlines and plumb bobs? They cut granite blocks so perfectly that you can't fit a razor blade between them with copper chisels. Copper is a soft metal, it can't even scratch granite. Do you realize what this means? The official story is full of holes. And here's the most damning piece of evidence. The Egyptians, who meticulously recorded everything from grain harvests to military campaigns, left behind not a single scroll, not one hieroglyphic inscription that describes how they built the pyramids. Isn't it strange that the greatest engineering feat of the ancient world went completely undocumented by its own builders? This is the problem that nobody mentions. The orthodox theory crumbles under the slightest pressure. It requires you to believe in miracles of logistics and engineering that defy the very laws of physics they supposedly used. It's a comfortable story, But it's just that, a story. And it forces you to ask a far more dangerous question. If they didn't build them, who did? So if the official story is a lie, what's behind the second door? This is where the story gets dangerous, where you leave the safety of the classroom and step into the shadows of forgotten history. This is Theory 2, the lost civilization. What if I told you the Egyptians were just tenants? That they discovered the pyramids already ancient and weathered by time and simply built their civilization around them? This theory proposes that the true builders were a human civilization, but one so advanced, so far beyond our own understanding, that we have mythologized them as gods. You know their most famous name, Atlantis. Before you dismiss it as fantasy, think about what it explains. It explains the impossible engineering, not with brute force, but with forgotten science. A science based on principles we are only just beginning to rediscover. Imagine them using sonic levitation, using the precise frequency of sound to make multi-ton blocks of granite float like corks in water. Imagine them using vibrational energy to cut stone with the precision of a laser. This wasn't magic. It was technology. A technology so advanced it appears magical to us now. And it wasn't just in Egypt. Look at Puma Punku in Bolivia with its H-blocks cut from solid diorite to impossibly perfect angles. Look at Sax, Juan in Peru with its polygonal walls of 100-ton stones, fitted so tightly a piece of paper can't slide between them. These aren't isolated anomalies. They are the fingerprints of a single global high-tech culture that vanished from the earth. Comment below if you've ever felt that these ancient sites are connected. But here's the problem that nobody mentions. If this was a human civilization, a branch of Adam's descendants that achieved this power, what happened to them? Why were they erased so completely? A flood, an earthquake, or was it a judgment? Do you realize what this means? It implies a cycle, a hidden history where humanity rises, achieves incredible power, touches the heavens, and is then violently thrown back down into the Stone Age. It means we are not the first. It means our modern technological world might just be a fragile echo of something that came before. It raises a terrifying theological question. What sin could a civilization commit that would require its entire existence to be wiped from the memory of the world? This theory is compelling. It answers the how, but it fails to answer the who, and more importantly, the why. It assumes the builders, for all their power, were still fundamentally like you and me. And here is where everything becomes terrifying. Because the most ancient texts, the ones that were almost removed from the Bible, tell us that the builders were not human at all. Take a deep breath. Because what comes next is the reason this information has been suppressed for millennia. The second theory, the idea of a lost human civilization, is a comfortable lie. It's a stepping stone designed to stop you from reaching the final terrifying truth. It keeps the builders human. It keeps them within the family of Adam. But what if they weren't? There is a text, a book so explosive, so detailed in its account of this first world, that it was fought over for centuries before being cast out of the biblical canon. They didn't want you to read it. It's called the Book of Enoch, and it doesn't just hint at what happened. It gives you names, dates, and a motive. Let me show you something disturbing. Enoch 6 describes how 200 angelic beings, the Watchers, made a pact. They descended upon Mount Hermon, driven by a lust for human women. Their leader was named Samjaza, and they committed the ultimate transgression. They abandoned their heavenly station and interfered with humanity. Now go back to Genesis 6. Read this verse again, but now slowly. The sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Do you see it? The Bible gives you the headline. Enoch gives you the entire eyewitness account. These were not just spiritual beings, they took physical form. And from their unholy union with human women, a new race was born, a hybrid race. Genesis calls them the Nephilim, the fallen ones, the Gibber, the mighty ones of old. It is no coincidence that every ancient mythology from the Greek Titans to the Sumerian Apocryphal speaks of a golden age when gods walked the earth, interbred with humans, and produced a race of demigod heroes. These aren't separate myths. They are fragmented memories of a single horrifying truth that Enoch recorded in detail. And here is the detail that almost no one notices. According to Enoch, these watchers didn't just bring their lust. They brought forbidden knowledge. One angel, Azal, taught men how to forge swords and shields, the art of war. Others taught the secrets of cosmetology, sorcery, astronomy, and the signs of the earth. Pause the video right now and think with me. Does this sound like primitive superstition? Or does it sound like a rapid, unnatural injection of advanced technology into a nent human race? Knowledge of metallurgy, energy, atmospheric sciences, genetic manipulation, the very foundations of a high-tech civilization given to humanity before its time. Do you realize what this means? The builders of the pyramids were not human slaves with copper chisels. They were not even an advanced human civilization like Atlantis. They were the direct descendants of fallen angels, a race of giant hybrid beings armed with celestial knowledge that could bend the laws of physics. They had the intellect of angels and the ambition of men and their great works. The pyramids, Saksai, Puma Punku were not tombs or temples. Why would beings who understood the cosmos build a simple grave? This changes everything you were taught about ancient history. This wasn't human ingenuity. It was a technological transfer from another dimension. A cosmic crime that corrupted the very DNA of humanity and filled the earth with violence and impossible constructions. The judgment that left the world to Varu formless and void wasn't a natural catastrophe. It was a deliberate divine cleansing of a planet that had become an alien outpost and the flood of Noah. That was the second and final act to wipe away the last genetic remnants of their terrifying reign. So what is behind the third door? The one they welded shut and tried to erase from memory. This is Theory 3, the apocryphal truth, and it solves every single contradiction. The pyramids were not built by humans. Let that sink in. They are the artifacts of the Nephilim, the Gibram, the hybrid race of giants born from the unholy union of fallen angels and human women, armed with forbidden celestial technology. This isn't a myth. It's the suppressed history recorded in the Book of Enoch. Think about it. Who else could quarry 80-ton blocks of granite and move them hundreds of miles? Who else could calculate celestial alignments with a precision that baffles us today? It wasn't human ingenuity. It was angelic knowledge. A technology that didn't rely on ropes and ramps, but on principles of vibration, sound, and frequency. A science that could manipulate the very fabric of matter. And this is the detail that almost no one notices. These structures are not tombs. That is the greatest lie of all. No pharaoh's body was ever found in the Great Pyramid. The sarcophagus in the king's chamber is crude, unfinished, and too large to have been brought through the passageways. The entire narrative is a cover story invented thousands of years later to hide a terrifying truth. So, if it's not a tomb, what is it? You've watched this far. You've pushed past the official lies. Now I am going to reveal the true purpose of the Great Pyramid. The secret that if it got out would rewrite not just history, but physics and religion. Take a deep breath, because what comes next changes everything. The Great Pyramid was never a monument to the dead. It was a machine, a functioning technological device of immense power. It was a power plant. Do you realize what this means? Look at the evidence. The entire structure is built on a massive limestone aquifer. The inner chambers are lined with granite, a stone rich in quartz crystal, which creates a poelectric effect when put under pressure. The original outer casing, now stripped away, was made of polished white Tour limestone, making it a massive non-conductive insulator. And the so-called air shafts, they aren't for air. They are precisely aimed waveguides pointing to specific star constellations, Orion and Thuban, as if to lock onto a cosmic energy source. The entire pyramid was designed to draw vibrational energy up from the Earth, amplify it through its crystalline granite chambers, and beam it wirelessly into the atmosphere. The missing capstone, it was never a simple stone. It was a conductive crystal of gold or a similar alloy, the final piece of the antenna. The sarcophagus in the king's chamber wasn't for a body. It was the resonant heart of the machine designed to hold a tuning crystal that would vibrate at the precise frequency needed to activate the entire structure. And when you understand this, you will never look at the ancient world the same way again. The pyramids were not an isolated wonder. They were the central hub of a global wireless energy grid. Hamapunku, Teotihuacan, Stonehenge. They were all nodes in this network, built by the same fallen architects. This pre-Adamic civilization didn't need fossil fuels. They had harnessed the energy of the planet itself. This changes everything you were taught about power. It wasn't just electrical power. It was a technology that could alter consciousness, open gateways, and stabilize the planet's magnetic field. This was the power of the gods. The power that corrupted the world so completely that a global flood was the only solution. The evidence wasn't destroyed. It was simply switched off, and it has been sitting there silent for thousands of years, waiting for someone to find the key. Do you realize what this means? If the pyramids were power plants, then the story of the ancient world isn't a story of progress from stone to bronze. It's a story of a catastrophic power failure, a deliberate shutdown. The technology of the gods wasn't lost, it was confiscated. But this power was never just about lighting a city or moving heavy objects. That's thinking too small. This was a counterfeit of divine power. It was the power to alter reality, to open gateways, to make humanity believe they no longer needed a creator. It was the original sign of technology. And this wasn't a one-time event. This pattern of rebellion is written throughout your Bible, hidden in plain sight. Open your Bible to Genesis 11. Look at the story of the Tower of Babel. They told you it was about a tall building. They were wrong. Read the verse. Genesis 11:4. And they said, "Go to let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name." Now read that again, but slowly. Whose top may reach unto heaven. The original Hebrew can also mean a top dedicated to the heavens, or a top with the heavens in it. This was not about physical height. This was about building a portal, a stargate, a machine to access other dimensions, just like the pyramid grid. And who was their leader? A man named Nimrod, who the Bible calls a gibber, a mighty one. The same exact word used to describe the Nephilim giants of Genesis 6. It is no coincidence that the same ambition led by the same bloodline resulted in the same kind of forbidden technology. And here's the detail that almost no one notices. Look at God's reaction. He doesn't laugh at their primitive tower. He takes it with terrifying seriousness. He says in verse 6, "And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do." God saw that if they succeeded, their power would be limitless. He had to intervene not by smashing the tower, but by confusing their language by corrupting their code. He shut the project down. Do you see the pattern? First, the pre-Adamic world of the Nephilim. They are given forbidden knowledge, build a global power grid, corrupt the earth, and are wiped out by a flood. Second, the post-flood world of Babel. Their descendants try to rebuild that same technology to create another gateway and are stopped by the confusion of languages. Forbidden knowledge followed by technological rebellion, followed by divine judgment. It has happened at least twice. The question you need to ask yourself is not what happened then. The question is what happens when we try it a third time. What happens when modern science in its arrogance finally deciphers the blueprints of the ancients and tries to turn the machine back on? This isn't ancient history. This is a prophecy unfolding right now in your lifetime. Jesus himself gave us the key. In Matthew 24:37, he gives a chilling warning about the end of days. He says, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." Pause the video now and think with me. What were the days of Noah really about? They weren't just about a world that was wicked. They were about a world where the lines between the human and the divine The terrestrial and the celestial had been horrifically blurred. It was a world of genetic corruption, of fallen angels walking the earth, and of forbidden technology given to men. It was the age of the Nephilim. And if Jesus said those days would return, look around you. Are we not living them now? Do you realize what this means? The same spirit of rebellion is rising again. But this time, it wears the mask of progress. Think about it. In the days of Noah, fallen beings gave humanity forbidden knowledge. Today, we are creating artificial intelligence, a non-human intelligence that promises to solve all our problems, to guide our future, to give us answers that once belonged to God. Is there really a difference? In the days of Noah, they created hybrid beings, the Nephilim, by mixing angelic and human seed. Today, we are pioneering gene editing and transhumanism with the stated goal of merging man with machine, of upgrading the human body to overcome death. We are trying to build the new Nephilim. And here is where it all connects. The great deception of the last days will not be a new philosophy. It will be the oldest lie in the universe. You shall be as gods, powered by the oldest and most dangerous technology. The attempt to reactivate the power of the ancients to turn the machines back on. So the question is not historical. It is personal. It is the choice that is being placed before you right now. When this ancient power is offered to you, the power to heal any disease, to live for centuries, to become more than human, what will you do? Which line will you choose? The technology of the fallen ones or the wisdom of the Most High? Will you embrace the power that promises to make you a god? Or will you hold to the faith that makes you a child of God? Your answer to that question will determine your eternity. You have journeyed from the sands of Giza to the first verses of Genesis. We started with an impossible question. Who built the pyramids? We tore down the official lies of ramps and primitive tools. We looked beyond the convenient myth of a lost human city. And we uncovered the terrifying truth that has been suppressed for millennia. A pre-Adamic race of giants armed with forbidden angelic technology, whose very existence had to be erased from time by a global cataclysm. This is no longer a historical debate. It is the final choice placed directly before you. The technology of the fallen is being rediscovered. The promise of becoming more than human is being whispered by the serpent of science. Comment below right now what your choice is. Which power will you trust? The power that builds pyramids to the heavens, or the power that descended from heaven to save you? If this video has opened your eyes, if you feel the weight of this truth, then I need you to act now. First, subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell, because the truths we are uncovering are not welcome in the mainstream. Second, give this video a like to help push this message past the algorithms that try to suppress it. Third, share this with one person who you know is searching for answers. Your voice matters in this fight for the truth. In the next video, we are going to reveal the name of the being who orchestrated this entire rebellion. Because the 200 Watchers who descended on Mount Hermon did not act alone. They were pawns in a much older war. A war that began in the heavens before the earth was even reformed. And the leader of that rebellion has a final plan. A plan to reactivate this ancient global energy grid. And it all began with the one artifact that was deliberately left out of the Book of Enoch. Do not miss it, because what you will discover will change how you understand the spiritual battle happening right in front of your